Gorillaz! No, they aren't monkeys, they're just British people who like living with ghosts, and also I think one of them's from hell and another from Japan. Anyways, in reality this band is a fictional group created by Jamie Hawlett and Damon Albarn. Suck it if I pronounced that incorrectly. Anyways, if you want to know about the band itself, there's a few videos out there. So I won't spend too much time on it. Anyway, Sun Machine Season 1, Strange Times, is a fucking weird name for an album. But it's also Gorillaz' 7th studio album, released on October 23, 2020, but having revealed 8 songs before the release of the album due to attempting to release a music video to accompany most of the songs, as well as these machine bites things where all the talk to speak like this and I seriously can't understand anything about what they're saying. Anyways, as of the writing of this, 7 music videos have been released, a surprising amount when compared to the 2 videos we got in the Now Now. Talking about the Now Now, Gorillaz' past album left a lot to be desired about the band. With a more straightforward sound but giving up on a lot of what made Gorillaz good, it ended up being rather disappointing despite how some tracks grew on me eventually. Regardless, Strange Times took on a more episodic pattern which allows the band to just go, I guess? They just call the artists they want to do music with until they run out of ideas. At first I was concerned about the concept being too similar to Humans, which is not my preferred Gorillaz album, but it seems like Sun Machine is trying to keep commitment to a minimum, making for 11 tracks in its standard edition and 17 on its deluxe edition. It's more in line with Demon Days and Plastic Beach, which are both albums I really enjoy altogether, so because I'm working on a video with more editing and stuff, I decided to do this quickie, reviewing Sun Machine Season 1 Strange Times and see how it fares against the other albums. That name is still very long. Before I continue though, there are 2 things I want to say. First off, this video is not as heavily edited as my regular stuff. Again, this is a quickie and I wanted it to be released close by to the album, so I'm not being into much editing. If you see my regular videos, I give my little character you're seeing on screen a little bouncy and stuff. So if you want to see a properly edited video by me, I really recommend checking my other videos. The Beastars video is specifically notable for being really good. At least I felt it was really good. I made a really good analysis. I don't know how it came out that good. Secondly, you should subscribe. It helps me get to a larger audience, but besides that, and yes, I do a lot of work on these videos and it's a shame that they get buried into the YouTube algorithm, by you subscribing, you are not only fooling the algorithm into sharing my stuff more because they think, oh, this is gonna get traffic, but also, you're gonna get a lot of quality content. If you don't like me, don't worry, because you can always desubscribe later, especially if I get too annoying, but hopefully that doesn't happen and you keep enjoying my videos. So yeah, now I'm gonna go and start reviewing the album. We're gonna do song by song and then an overall view, so let's get to it. Strange Times. Not a fan of the verses per se, but I like the latter half of the song despite the feature having like 4 to 6 lines. It's a very solid track that I like singing, even though you betcha I don't have everything worthwhile about the song, but spin around, it's just so fun to say. The Valley of the Pagans or Pagans, I still don't know how it's said. This song had its demo leaked early and I can't say much about the final version of the song since it feels like a louder version of the demo. I much rather prefer the leaked version. It used instrumentation better and it wasn't as heavy on the reverbs and electronic boogaloo. Looking past that, I do feel like this song has a more Now Now vibe, which mostly works to its favor. The lyrics confuse me a little due to the meaning I can discern from them being not very proper or comfortable to speak about. But that's probably wrong, so I won't discuss them here right now. The Lost Chord. The intro hurts my ears, but the meat of the song itself is quite juicy. The lyrics sound really crisp and it's one of those songs that flows into itself very nicely thanks to the use of proper laying and ordering of music, you know, and the sounds. It doesn't have the same strength some features bring into the voice, but the structure is well done enough and Damon tried speaking with a jazzy style that really fits him. I'd even be willing to believe this song is just a B-side from Plastic Beach. Heck, I can't even understand why they dared not make a video for this one earlier. Pac-Man. This track might be amongst the most unique in the album. All of the instruments blend into each other and both Damon and Schoolboy Q really did a good job with the lyrics, which are not too difficult to interpret as commentary on addiction, whether it be to substances or something a little bit more abstract, like fame. It flows really well and it's probably one of the most iconic tracks in the album, possibly due to the sampling of a lot of Pac-Man noises. Chalk Tower Tablets. Sid Basin is one of those features from this album I will listen to regularly, so I was very excited when I heard they had a thing in this album. Sadly, this song is among the weaker ones in the album for being tiring and way too synthetic. It suffers from being too loud and having a slightly common lyrical theme, as well as being very repetitive. The Pink Phantom. Both 2D and Elton are well portrayed in this love ballad about a car, I think. Elton really shines through this dark and 2D is not bothersome. Six Lag though, yes I know it's black, brings a stupidly lazy performance and the voice effects don't really help. Perhaps if they didn't double down on his effects it could be better? I also dislike the piano since it sometimes feels disconnected from the rest of the instruments. The overall tone of the piece is pretty good. Aries, more songs about likely drugs. Pretty good song regardless, this song rocks all the elements consistently and it's the type of song that builds up until the end. It's great, I like it, commitments on the melody and the singing is good. Friday 13th. This song wouldn't be half bad if Octavian actually tried, because the instrumental is good and the lyrics are nice, but it literally takes getting used to the voice for you to enjoy this song. It sounds more like a demo than anything, so it's underdeveloped and underinteresting, I guess. The Bad Bliss. So this hip hop song is very weird since all of the artists have a totally different style, but rhyme about the same beat and just kinda take turns. Damon sounds very different and takes the most pressure to the song, sometimes sounding particularly different than usual, but the biggest problem with his lyrics is that they always sound like Hollywood from the now. Roxanne got a short part, but it's just mainly generic modern Spanish singing. However, Cano raised his verse despite rhyming mostly with E, which is rather racist since me, we, see, and all of the short words rhyme with it. But, as he says it, these lyrics don't reflect perfection. I like this song overall because it works nicely around itself, despite being a little too long. Désolé. I know it's désolé. This song feels similar to Demon Days. It takes enough risks not to get boring, like the very distorted brass section towards the end. Now, the Awara as a feature works perfectly with this song, and Damon singing is very reduced, and when it is used, it fits perfectly within the song. This one might not be your favorite, but it's kinda hard to objectively say it's bad without lying to yourself. Momentary Bliss, what the fuck is this song? It's kinda bland to me for the most part. Even the instrumental I feel is lackluster because it just doesn't flow as a piece. I find it too much of a clusterfuck to properly explain this, but if you like it then that's, I guess, okay. Now those are the main tracks that we see in the standard edition, and now I'm gonna talk about the tracks that we see in the deluxe edition. Opium. Ah yes, 6 minutes, 2 of which aren't necessary. In fact, those 2 minutes summarize perfectly how it feels to try and beat Pianta 4. Too long and annoying. Anyways, after 2 minutes you get to listen to some lyrics and the song becomes fire. Messy fire, sure, but that's just the style Gorillaz tends to have. At least the lyrics flow very nicely once you listen to them a few times. I do feel some sounds were compressed into horrible distortion, but besides the fact that it takes almost 4 minutes to get into the best parts of the song, I'ma just fade the 2-minute mark in for future listening and then I won't have any problems with this song. Simplicity. A more reggae sound, very chill despite the similar instrumentation to Friday 13th. It feels kinda heavy since there's almost the exact same beat for 3 minutes with only some violin to fluff it up. Despite the generally iffy mixing, it's what it claims. Simplicity. Severed Head. Back to the game references, if Opium was Pianta Village, this song is the Copaceum. Another bad start and a feature who sounds like Snoop Dogg, but there's stuff I like and there's stuff I don't. This song is pretty solid generally, just not as solid as the Copaceum itself. It's sticky for certain, with love to an X. Noodle, but in the form of song. So this one packs a really good chorus and Japanese vibes that are very on point. The verses are very nice despite a little dissonance, and by the end it becomes this grand orchestra that lends itself very nicely to the whole. I don't open it much in this segment, but I picture this is that one song that I like and the rest of the people don't really like as much. MLS. It's so fine. JPEG Mecca has a feeling rap and does an alright job. His voice just isn't what the song needs. Chai does a way better work despite only getting a small burst in the chorus. The ending of the song is not good. There's way too much distortion and barely any Damon, if any at all. So what can I say? It is that one song that seems to have a lot of premise but in the end has nothing going for it. How far? I don't know. A song made with Tony Allen, who sadly passed away early in this year. This song is probably going to remain as a song more acknowledged for the tribute than its achievements as a standalone track, since it doesn't do much that is unique or special, but it does do enough to deserve a listen or two before you decide whether or not to add it into your playlist. And with that out of the way, it's time for me to rank the songs real quick before I go into the overall review. This is just my opinion, and I'd love to hear your tops in the comments too. Pac-Man, With Love to an X, The Lost Chord, Désolé, Severed Head, Opium, The Pink Phantom, Dead Butterflies, Aries, Strange Times, Chalk Table Towers, I still don't know how to say that, Pally of the Pagans, I still don't know how to say that, How Far, I still don't know, Simplicity, Friday the 13th, MLS, Momentary Shit, Bliss. You are probably a little surprised at some of the placements, but my complaint to price ratio on a track review does not correlate to my enjoyment and preference of the track themselves. So yeah, let that sink in. And with that out of the way, Strange Times by Gorillaz is far miles above the last 2 albums of the band. Despite retaining a lot of the electronic sounds and having a feature on every song, it thankfully does not fall into the pitfalls Humans did. This is because they decided to stay online with Gorillaz instead of the other artists. There's at least one song here that resembles the song in the style of each of Gorillaz' previous albums. Stuff like Chalk Table Towers got Now Now Right with its repetitive electronic sounds, and stuff like Opium got Demon Days with its ever-changing morphing of genre and rhythm. The album itself, when seen from the perspective of its musical achievements, is fantastic. I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the songs are held to the same standards as Feel Good Inc. and Melancholy Hill. Though, as is with any album, some songs do feel uninspired or have too many effects getting in the way, as well as some features not being entirely present. I actually believe that this album is more than a step in the right direction and instead a head-first dive into it. However, when we look at the album from overview, you start to see some things that aren't quite right. First off, as it's normal with Gorillaz, it's a hodgepodge of genres and sounds that, while impressive, do not form anything as a cohesive experience. It would be fine if there was some thematic connection or if they made the songs flow from one into the other. The point here is that there's an if. Thematically, this album says nothing, it has no statement. The topics it does talk about are topics that come to mind without much anticipation, addiction and the state of the world and stuff like that. Even if the topic was a little bit more concise, but still run into the wall called the thematic side of humans, which is the exact same thing, the state of humanity and the world. The difference here is how humans try to be scary while Strange Times settle into a more lighthearted tone, much to its favor. Regardless, there's nothing being said, and the over-reliance on features limits the message because it forces Damon and his collaborators to have similar ideas in mind, thus disallowing any really worthwhile problems. Were we to compare Strange Times with Demon Days, we'd probably realize that Demon Days is better because, well, it's a lot more personal if I understood correctly. It talks about Damon's fears slowly inching into more uncanny territory. Conceptually, Song Machine will never be able to tell us anything properly unless 20 or more collaborators happen to share a topic they wish to discuss. I believe this is the biggest pitfall of the album and the concept itself. Sadly, this also means that a lot of these songs will have to be modified when Damon decides to go on tour and he can't take everybody along to perform live, demonstrating another negative side in the concept. Despite the thematic dissonance, it is to be expected because Song Machine was designed to be episodic, which allows the artist to just do whatever they want until they just don't want to do anything more with it. I can say this album has a better track list than Gorillaz' past two albums, and I listen to these songs more often than those. So to summarize, Song Machine Season 1 Strange Times is just as good as the first three Gorillaz albums, with its fresh and surprisingly unique sounds that had been lost in the past few years. It does suffer from having no meaning at all, making it a strange tightrope between spontaneous music and composed music, but when we see with a more specific lens to it, it is the best Gorillaz has given us in the last few years. Saying Demon Days and Plastic Beach for me have high 9s, and Now Now is a low 6, I give this album an 8.6 out of 10. I admit, I sounded a little harsh while explaining the missing constitution of the album, but that was more so to explore the importance of cohesion. I also apologize for not liking Opium as much as everybody else in the universe might, so please forgive me. And with that said, I'm just gonna put the outro music because it's very dope, and I'll see you in the next one, which will most likely be the big video. I've been teasing 2 videos now. So yeah, bye bye.